Good morning, good morning, good morning, Dominica. Good morning, QFM family, and welcome to another powerful edition of Creole Heartbeat. Today, we're diving into a topic that doesn't get enough space, but it needs more, it is needed more than ever. It's mental health, the mental health of men. The mental health of men. So, no psychiatrists, no doctors today, just the truth. We're giving space to the everyday man to tell us what it's like carrying the weight of being strong, of being a provider, of being unbreakable, of being vulnerable with fear. We are talking about silent stress, about love, about vulnerability, about being a father or a son who maybe have never heard, I love you. Because behind every hard man is a little boy who is either taught to feel or taught to shut down. So let's talk and welcome to the hang. It's Friday, the 13th of June, 2025. I am your host, Julie Roberts. Today, with me, I have some important guests, and of course, it's a male dominated panel this morning. My first guest is seated beside me, and I want him to tell you his name because it is very unique and I do not want to fumble it.
Well, good morning to those listening from home and abroad. I am Terji Banis, a member of the Boys to Men organization.
All right. So Terji Banis. I love it. I love it. I love it, right? And then on the platform, we have Mr. Mills. Good morning, Mr. Mills.
Yes, good morning to you, Julie. And my name is Cleville Mills. And because of you, I'm happy to be here on the program with you this morning.
Okay. And we also have Donnie. Good morning, Donnie. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll hear from Donnie soon. We do have another guest who will join us in the studio as soon as possible. And let's get into it. So, Sergi, the way society defines a successful man, the job, the money, the control, family, sometimes can be very stressful, even from like for me personally as a woman looking in. I find that if a man isn't deemed financially successful or he doesn't seem like he has accomplished a lot, society doesn't really say he's successful. Like you need to have a certain amount of money, you need to drive a certain car, you need to be in certain circles to seem like you are successful. So, what is one thing you wish people understood about the pressure of being a man?
So I feel like people feel like men they should have no emotions, right? Like when they're providing for the family, they shouldn't complain because traditionally men are the head of the household. So they're expected to protect and provide for their family. And when they fail to do that, they are seen as less of a man in society. And it's often leaves a burden on them. Like they're afraid to show that they're hurting. So they resort to drugs and other things to cope, which leads many of our men astray, takes them on the wrong path because they don't know how to show their emotions. Because some of them, they grew up in a place where they couldn't express themselves because they are man. You see, men are supposed to cry
Mm,
and show emotion is shown as a feminine trait.
yeah. Mr. Mills, what is one wish you wish that people would understand about the pressure of being a man in today's world?
Well, the man doesn't always have all the information. He doesn't always have all the skills, and also, and he cannot provide for everything. And sometimes people believe because you're a man, there are certain things you're expected to do, and if you cannot do it, you'll be laughed at. So,
Yes.
so that is one of the things people have to understand, that you will not have all the skills. Just expect you to be a man. So your manhood or your masculinity will be determined based on how well you can do certain things. But I think that's how they mostly judge men. They should judge them as a person, not just because they think that the men are the stronger vessels, but they should judge you as a person who have strength and weaknesses. So they need to know that.
Yes. I don't. Donnie, are you with us as yet? Yeah. Donnie, your mic is muted. If you yes. So I guess we're having some challenges with Donnie, but when do men feel most stressed, especially mentally exhausted? Because we always speak about your strength, your physical strength, and I may be able to say that I can take on a man physically, but somebody like, because as long as you're a man, you're expected to be stronger, physically. But when we talk about the mental aspect, where and when do you feel most stressed mentally?
Well, for me, I feel most stressed when it's for academical things because I'm a full-time college student still. So a lot of times I want to make my parents proud. I don't want to disappoint them. So because they have expectations, expect you to do well at school and to get a good job. So you have to try your best, keep your GPA up, have the good grades, and so on. So for me, is more on the academical level as to stress on.
Okay, and before we go to Mr. Mills, so we can get his perspective outside of being a student, you that right there you just explained is what we started with about the type of pressure that is placed, because it may be a little different for you, because and that's why we have the diverse age groups here today, because your pressure is to make sure you make your parents proud. You see how it's and then a lot of men when they grow up, they want to make sure they can make their family proud, their family satisfied, their family it's always about being able to be good enough for somebody else. And it's just so funny that you're saying that, and we can realize it's starting from here. Mr. Mills, when do you feel the most stressed, or you think men feel the most mental exhaustion?
Well, to me, my mental exhaustion comes in when there's somebody that you maybe need to cater for, or something that you maybe need to do. And if you cannot do it, or to me, it's more like a empathy, like you, if somebody is in a weak position, I would like to be able to help that person and make sure that the person can overcome whatever the challenge may be. But personally, I may be maybe be too free spirited. I can never give myself so much stress. For me to feel stressed, I must do something wrong. That is unacceptable, and I must go out of bounds. So that's where I could maybe get some stress. But when it comes to pressure, or like let us say, like I heard him spoke about, you have a challenge, you maybe have to play a sport, or you maybe have to do an exam, all those things. For me, I don't get stressed. I just give it my best,
Yeah.
and I will try to maybe learn from the mistakes. But I don't get stressed for the lack of standard, because if it doesn't reach the standard, you have to try to find out what did you not do to make you not reach the standard, and then I'll take the challenge to work on it. So maybe that's where my stress is. But that's how I would feel my stress, trying to do something better to improve on a failure or shortcoming.
Okay, so we spoke about the fact that a man is often measured by his income, his affiliations, his status. Do you think society is putting too much pressure, or society judges men based on their income or their job too much?
Yes, absolutely. Because if you're not making a certain amount, you're seen as a less of a man. Like your woman's going to leave you for another man who makes more than you. And also, not only that, the job you own. Like if you're a farmer, like everybody sees a farmer as poverty. Like you're not gonna make a lot, like the hot sun, or you're not gonna have a good house. Like society expects you to have a good house, a car, a good paying job. But as a man, it was pressured that you have to have the best. So we need to work in a society because we have to understand we have different skills, right? Not everybody's academically gifted. So they're not going to get a job at the bank. Some go to be carpenters. Some going to be construction workers. So these things pressure them because they feel like because of the academic background, they're not good enough to support their family and get a good job.
Yeah, Mr. Mills and Donnie. Whenever you can hear us, whenever you can chime in, if your system decides to work, you can just join. That's fine. And I know we're gonna have another guest with us in studio very soon. I think he's here already. But yes, Mr. Mills, to answer that question.
You know, what thinking again. I don't like to be. Yeah, I don't like to be broke. I don't think no man like to be broke.
Upa kweli aye.
To me, not having sufficient to think, you can get a you can be depressed sometimes. That may be one of my point of maybe some depression sometimes. You always want to feel able to be able to provide, as I said before, and to do and to meet at least your basic needs. And maybe that's just a natural nature of man or human being that you have needs. You don't have to try to see what everybody have, but you should know what you really need. And if you could meet that, that may be a challenge. I would think maybe for everybody. I would think if you're falling short or you find yourself maybe in a hole, that can cause some stress. So you have to try to get a way to come out of that hole so that you can be at a normal level. But I don't think you'll feel normal if you are in a hole. That's how I see it. I'm just
Yeah,
picking up my just experience in life.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I see Donnie with us now.
Yeah,
Uh,
can you hear me, Julie?
yes, we're hearing you perfectly.
Okay. Well, yeah. Good morning. Good morning to you and to your guest, and
Yeah.
to Mr.
Good
Mills.
morning, Tony.
Good morning. Good morning. And this is a very important conversation, and I think one that's not talked about enough. And I'm very happy, Julie, that you could bring this to the fore this morning. So,
Yes, you're
from what I've
welcome.
been listening so far, I want to add, the common pressures that men face. And I think we all touched on some of it thus far. Of course, there's the what do you call the provider expectation. Yeah, men are expected to be the primary earners and providers, which can create intense stress. There's also uh, emotional, how do you call it, stoicism, stoicism, right? Society often discourages men from expressing their vulnerability. They look at you as being weak. So you hear people saying like, "Oh, man up, or big boys don't cry." You know, but men are human beings also, and they should be able to express their feelings like anybody else. But it is shunned upon to see a man sometimes express himself. You know,
Yeah.
and also, of course, you know, you all mentioned earlier. financial status. Man is supposed to be successful, and of course, everybody wants to be successful, but along the way, you may find yourself in difficulties, and you may not be where you want to be, and that should not be something to to have you look down upon. You know, so there are many other things. As we go by, I may add some more, but I think that's a
Yes.
very important.
Yes, we have our Mr. Regis with us now. And go ahead.
Regis. To all listening, my name is Dylan Regis. I'm a part of Boys to Men organization. Thank you for having me.
No worries. You're welcome. And so you'll be a part of the conversation. But something very real that when we speak about your income and your job, that is really there playing in my mind is the fact that I don't know if everyone have seen the movie Straw. In all of us who sit in here, it's a new movie that just came out that everyone is talking about, and of course, it highlighted a single mom and that one day that she cracked, and she just had a bad day, and you can feel the remorse that's been given to her because of the day she has had. However, very often I feel like we have men who are constantly having those bad days. We have men who constantly feel like they're not good enough. We have men from their childhood, they're being told, Uled, you're ugly, and that man now will try to see his worth by dating the most beautiful woman he can find. And he will try to see his worth by trying to see how much he can provide for her. He'll try to see his worth in so many different ways that is basically trying to fight against that childhood trauma of being told that you're not good enough. Then he tries to date the most beautiful woman, not realizing that she might just not be of his standard done in societal ways. So then he's afraid that she now cheats on him because he's like, boy, if I so ugly, how I get that good woman? And he constantly tried to do everything. And this is just from the relationship aspect of a man trying to be enough. Then you move to the other aspect where a man grew up without not having a lot. He just did not have a lot. And he always envisioned, boy, when I get older, you see how me and my mother suffer and daddy didn't have, I am going to provide. And then the way life set up is that life just put him in a hole. You understand?
Yes.
And he has been in that hole and he's constantly stressing because as Mr. Bannis said, men are said to be the providers. There's an expectation. All this 50-50 thing we hear is not by any joke. Men are expect to be the providers. So men constantly, and that's what I really want us to. This is the mode I really want us to sit in today as a people to understand real time the pressures that's been placed on men. Because when we say it's mental health month, it sounds good because it's MMM, but but let us talk about the real things, like not the things that the psychiatrists are going to come and tell us, or any social worker. I want men to really say, and we will open the phone lines pretty soon, Mr. Technician, because I want men to say, yes, it's hard. You know how hard it is to get up every morning at 6 a.m. to go to work. To work for those who, let's say they're doing construction, to work in the hot sun. And when you finish work, your employer hiding, you can't get your paycheck, and you have to come home to your child and your partner to say, I didn't get paid. As much as it's not your fault, you have to deal with that mentally. That is stressful. You were now taught not to communicate your weaknesses. So what do? You go to the bar. The first thing you hear society say, Mr. I was drinking. These are the realities that we do not speak about. I don't know if it's because it's taboo, or I don't know why we don't speak about it. But that's what I mean when I say about the pressures of income and jobs. I hope I gave you guys a little
Yes. Yes.
clarity as to what I mean. Okay. So outside of the income and the and the relationship bit about job, outside of the income and the job bit, sorry, what kind of support do you actually need from a partner, whether it be a wife or a girlfriend? What kind of, as a man, let us represent the different men. So we have the younger ones. We can start with you guys, and then we'll go to the older men. What kind of support do you actually need from a partner?
Well, from a partner, you want somebody who's like minded. You don't want somebody who you're always arguing with. And if you know yourself to be somebody who's an intellectual man, you have a good head on your shoulders, to be having a partner who's constantly disagreeing with you, that is something that I could not bear. You understand? So
Mhm.
what you really want from a partner, you want somebody who can understand you, who's logical enough to make good decisions, not just for herself, but also for you and your family to come.
Mhm.
So that is definitely something. It's somebody who you can talk to easily and you're comfortable with, and yeah.
Men always say somebody who you can talk to, and then when we women start to talk, y'all say, "Oh, too much talk, too much talk, too much
Yes,
talk."
yes. There's a point. There's a point. You know what I'm saying?
There's a point.
There,
Go ahead.
Well, for me, I feel like someone you can rely on, right? You can share the burden with. Like you're not alone in a situation. Like even if something goes wrong, we'll work together to get through it. Because I find a lot of times, right, when things go wrong, the woman often leaves the man alone in the situation. Like he needs someone to talk to, like someone he can cope with. And I think that's where we feel as a society. Like we need to share the burden.
Give us a situation now.
Okay, for example, right? If your man is struggling financially,
Hmm.
like you should find a way to help assist him. Like even if you can open a little bakery or something and help him
hmm
financially get a job, and not only man has to work. We live in a world where both genders can work, so not only man can
You
work.
check.
You say you check. So you take all your good senses and you take somebody young daughter on a date, and she ended up ordering what she felt like having, right?
Hmm.
And when it's time to pay the bill, you cannot pay the full bill. You expect her to help you out on the table and not just say, but, you didn't bring enough money, man, and leave you and go. You expect that, in these ways, not
Mhm.
just drop it on you. I'm trying to give you.
Well, maybe not. Okay, well, if you're short on funds, I wouldn't say you go in there expecting, because maybe a man should pay on the first date. So you shouldn't go in there with the expectation for her to pay. But if it happens, that just happened to be the case. You understand? Maybe she can help in a little bit, put in a little 20, 25, 30. You understand?
Okay, so I like his response. So we have reliability so far, and we also have someone that you can communicate with and and speak, not argue a lot. Okay, so the grown men. What support are you actually looking for in a partner? What men are looking for in a partner? We're talking about mental health. If you're just joining us, to the listeners of QFM, men and mental health.
Well, Julie, emotional support is huge, and like the young guy said, hopefully you'll find a partner who is on the same mission as you, who understands you and you understand them, and will understand that even if you're a man, you have vulnerabilities, and they are willing, just as you are willing as a man, to help you to get success on your joint mission, right? So if the man falls short in certain areas, he's not castigated, he's not ridiculed. Your partner is supposed to understand that as a partnership, she has a responsibility and a role also to help you along, even though you're a man. So that is very important. Emotional support, of course. If you just young, starting off, and you have a job, you have bills to pay, you may have a child. You also would like somebody who would be able to um, offer financial support also. Pick up the slack. Sometimes it's not always that way. But that would be the ideal situation.
Yeah.
There'll be too much, not too much stress on one person. And always, as we always keep circling back to the fact that man is always expected to bear the bigger part of the load. So you want somebody who could help you along, and not just depend on you to take care of everything.
Okay.
Maybe what I can add to that, because I think I'm the elder here this morning there. Um, I mean, yeah. So in life, really, like growing up, you hear that when you working, like if you're working something, they get a woman that can help you. And sometimes I used to hear some people say, don't get somebody that can help you eat. Get a helpmate. Um, so what I'm saying is, having gone through that and now seeing how important it is for to get a woman that can help you, it is always better. And maybe if a person is not looking for that, if they want to really progress, they will not do it just because of, but you will always be in a better situation if you have a woman that can help you. So because one and one is two, and they say money doesn't fight with money. Now, on the emotional side, sometimes we men, not women, we men, we we believe that we are strong, we are hard, and then you're going through certain situations, and it is hard, and you are not realizing it until you get somebody to really sympathize or empathize with you. I remember something about I was going through something, and I was fighting. I was fighting at a traffic case, and then to me the case was like it was like a persecution. But I was just fighting, going through the process until a friend told me that I'm coming to court with you that day. And then the fact that they say that they were coming to court, you should have. I never realized that in a way I was alone. And then getting that kind of support helps you feel better, and then it will even take off your mind from the negatives. So emotional support helps you in many ways. It take away stress. It maybe help you see the other side. Things you have not been thinking about. You start to think about them. Another thing that a person likes is to get a woman who will support him, not condone him, but will support him. If you're doing something, you come up with something, you like the woman to support you, because anytime you get that support, like you have a third leg, you have a third leg instead of having two legs, and that type of that type that type of support can really strengthen you, and then you have again to it takes two. It's an additional help. It's not just sometimes the direct income, but sometimes whatever you are trying to achieve, the support that you get will make you end up achieving more. So
Mhm.
that is something that is very important to a man, and then maybe anybody. But when it comes to relationship, and with that support, it tightens the relationship because you're all working together on something, and you all are trying to achieve a common goal. So that is important too.
Okay.
Hey,
I
Juliet,
want.
one
Go
more
ahead.
thing before yes, before you go. Um, so sometimes and it's almost a traditional, um, you find women they take care of the home. Okay, so you may have a partnership where the man is the breadwinner, they call it, and the woman is at home working. Okay, um, that may just be the way it is. Okay, now what is crucial, very important, if the man is going out to work and coming home every day, it is extremely important and helpful that he can rely on his partner when he goes home, to go home to a place that is clean, and yes, it is,
Yes.
and he has a meal on time. and he goes home and a nice cooked meal is waiting for him, and somebody who will um, you know um, ask him how was his day, sit down and talk to him, and just give him encouragement, and make him feel worthy. You know, there's nothing worse than a man has to go out to work, and it could be both ways also. Because there are men who stay home also. So go home to go out to work and come home and there's no food. The house is not taken care of. If you have kids, the
So you
kids are not.
a guy, imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
If you leave the cupboard empty, you can't come home and get food.
Well,
But anyways,
Yeah.
I'm on the man side on
no,
the
no, no.
man side
What
today. So
I'm basing that on the fact that the man is doing that role.
yes.
He's the breadwinner. You understand? So, and of course, um, emotional, and the man goes home and he can get somebody to rub his head and rub his back and make him feel good because he's working very hard. And like I said, it could go both ways also. If the Because there are men who are stay at home dads, and women go out to work, so it both ways. You understand?
Hmm. I
Yeah.
want to get to a little more personal space, and of course, anybody that want to say pass or just use it, I'm speaking on behalf of my friend or my neighbor. It's fine, okay. So very often, something that I practice, and I know some of my friends do, is ask my partner, "Is there anything I can do for you mentally? Is there any way I can help alleviate anything mental? Can I support you?" And funny enough, you'd be surprised the amount of men, even if you guys are going through all that pressure, they have no idea how to say, yes, you can help with this. Why is that so?
Well, a large reason for that is because some men, they don't know how to articulate how they feel and what they don't really know what they need per se. Like for me, if you ask me what you can do for me mentally, obviously women, just having somebody there for you, a partner there for you, that is already a mental relief. But additional to that, you want somebody who, like I said, won't argue with you. If you have to come home and every disagreement, you get into a big fight, a big argument, that is very strenuous on your mental health and on your mind space. Then when you go to work, you want to be more susceptible to cursing somebody for little to no reason. And then when you go to the bar, God forbid, a
Oh, when
bottle
you're in
just ends up
traffic?
in, you know what I'm saying? You just pull down the window and tell somebody something about their mother that they never knew. You don't want that. You don't want that. So just being there for them, and like I said, I like what Joy from Anointed Helper said. They said somebody who you can communicate with, somebody who won't just lash out on you for just talking your mind. That's very very good for your mental health.
Hmm. Anybody else want to say something on that before we move on? Why is it that, okay, well, we can move on. Is there something you wish you could say out loud, but usually keep to yourself as a man? And when I was putting this question together, let me tell you what I was thinking. Very often men will say, "Boy, that's why I don't like to talk." Because like right after their partner will say, "Open up, talk to me more," and they will say something, and then I don't know if they think we're using this against them, but is it? That's why.
Yes.
So, is there something you wish you could say out loud but you just usually keep it to yourself as a man?
Well, like I don't always have the answers. Like I'm afraid what the future might bring, and I'm afraid to be a failure because society has so many expectations for us, so many norms that we have to conform to. So it's very scary sometimes.
Wow, I didn't think about that. That's deep. Anybody else?
Well, some women, like you said, some women are very spiteful. You understand? So, and I don't think that goes. I think that is just their nature. You understand? Because when you tell a woman something, when a man opens up to you, a very vulnerable state, he'll tell you something private about himself that he doesn't tell anybody really. All men have it. And when he tells it to you, he feels like that is a safe place. With some women now, let's say when you get into an argument with them, you make them very upset. They tell you, "Well, you know what? That's why." Da, da, da." And all of a sudden, that trust that you built, I mean, it's broken. Your heart broken. You're like, "Wow, boy, I really can't trust you anymore. I should have never said nothing." So that's that for me. For me personally, that's where that comes from.
I know I'm laughing like I'm guilty, but it's just I can see it playing out so so easily. I really can see it playing out. So before we move on to the older men, Terje, Terje,
There's
Terje, you see what you said about being afraid. I applaud you. That is so like on that's on so many levels. You would not hear a man say that. I am afraid to be a failure, and it may be one of the primary things that most men are thinking because we already identify that every man is going through that pressure of having to be that person for everyone. Yet still, you don't hear them say, I'm afraid to be a failure. So I commend you for saying that.
Thank you.
I commend you. That fear done today. Okay? All right, Mr. Mills and Donnie.
Well, on the terms of what I would like to say, they're not the only times I feel I will not say something. It depends on what it is. And sometimes it's not that you do not trust, but you have to know. You have to know what the person is capable of. And according to what is it that you want to say, you might know, you might have an idea where the weakness might be that the partner might reveal it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are not sure that it is going to stay in, then just keep it to yourself.
Mhm.
That's the way sometimes you maybe I would maybe keep something to myself. You're going to tell the person something, maybe about someone that's close to them. You have a feeling, if I say that to you, some way, somehow, it will come out between you and the person. These are the things maybe that I would think about that I'll just hold back because you want to avoid, it going out further. But it is always good to know that there are certain things you can stay with your partner and speak about many things, many things. And there are certain things they say when you have something in your mind, when you share it, it helps you, to understand how another person feel about what you're thinking of. So sometimes that is even good to do, to share your feelings and the things that you're thinking of. But there may be time you might have to use that measurement to say, I do not want it to come out. And based on who I am talking about or what I'm talking about, it might it might not stay in. And the young guy who said about sometimes you're saying something maybe out of is it desperation or you're at a vulnerable situation.
Mhm.
I just say it, and then sometimes you get back into your face. That is not that one is not good. So you just have to measure what you want to say, and
Yes.
you might after something you might know your partner. After a while, you might know your partner. You know what the partner might go back and say, and what they will keep.
It's definitely not one of our strong areas as women. We are very emotional, and it's like when men and so if a man is going through this, let me try to give him a little piece as to what it might be for some, not for the spiteful ones, as you say, but we're emotional, and when your partner sometimes put you in a space like, wait, how am I gonna put me in that space? You try to wound him the way he has wounded you, and we don't realize sometimes when we do that, we're just creating more trauma for someone who's already dealing with something traumatic. And speaking of trauma, do you guys think that your childhood is shaping how you deal with your emotions now? And also, were you hugged or told that you're loved and I'm proud of you, I'm supporting you by your parents? And I am asking this question because I know you guys are still young and just started date, but we have the two grown men there. But recently I had a conversation with someone who told when I asked, randomly. I like that's not even something I thought existed, but I asked, like, how many hugs have you gotten from your mom and your dad? And he was like, what? I cannot remember ever being hugged by my parents.
Hmm.
Or I said, okay, okay. What about I love yous? Can't remember that either.
Hmm.
It is not something that is said, but to his partner, that's done daily. As a matter of fact, that's craved. And I mean, I don't know if any of you guys are doing psychology or so, but you will learn that often people their attachment styles, it comes from what they lacked in their childhood. So that same person attachment style will more than likely be something like a fearful avoidant. They always want to try to get away before you leave them, or their love language will be physical touch because they didn't get enough of it and they're trying to get it now. So a lot of times men do not know this is why they're like that. So just tell me a little. I know you guys are still pretty young when we talk about childhood, but just tell me the things that occur in childhood, like the hugs and the support from your parents. Do you see it shaping your emotions now in any way? And then we'll move on to Donnie.
Well, I think I'm one of the lucky few. I had a good mother. I have a good mother, a good father. But when it came down to, as you said, the hugs and that, I was really from my mother. My father, he would go out for work, and he would always come home. He would rarely come home, but I always admired him. I always had that respect for him, even as a young child. So, but as I, really grow up, and parenting is very important in a child's life. You really, and to all the parents out there, you really have to train your child. Because the Bible says, train your child in the way which is right, and when they grow up, they will not depart from it. So it's very, very important. If you talk into your son or daughter's head and you tell them that they can't do this, they can't do that, and you're very negative. And a lot of the time in Dominica, parents are very negative to their children. So if you just talk to them and they're speaking these mean things and you're not supportive to them, you're not there for them, then the child is going to grow up as a delinquent, most likely, or somebody who does not know how to communicate their feelings themselves. That I thank God that I have my parents. My mother gave me love, my father has given me his wisdom. So that's really something that can really help a child's life.
Yes, wise, wise words.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Well, for me, I grew up in a loving household. Like I got words of encouragement. Like I mean, a lot of men in Dominica don't really get that. So as the said, I'm the lucky ones as well. So I believe those things affect people. Like when you tell them that men don't cry and they bottle those things up, it can cause violence. Like many of them don't love people. That's why you have so many men abusing their girlfriends because they don't know how to love. They want to raise in homes that are loving, and those things need to be addressed if you want men to treat women better. Because all those things stem from the household.
Yeah. And even men who would have gotten love at home, like their father would have given them love or their mother would have given them love, but they didn't see their father giving their mother love.
Hmm.
That too is another level of it because they they feel like, yeah, they feel the prize, they feel cherished, but at the same time, that way in for them to have that emotional connection with a partner is often lacking. And I know we have all kind of different men listening today. So yeah, we are just going through the different layers. Donnie, you're with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah. So do you see the way your childhood, or it doesn't have to be your childhood specifically, but how the childhood of a man can shape his emotions and also things like the affection he's given from his parents?
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are people who are better suited to talk about this than me, because people who study these things, for years and years, they're experts. But all of us had an experience, and I can only talk about my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I know definitely, my childhood did truly, shape, uh, the person I am in many many ways. Um, growing up back in the day, um, in my time, parents telling their children they love them was not a thing, you know, for us. But you knew they loved you. You know, I grew up with my grandmother. Um, for and my very early years, my first years of my life, from a baby to seven, and my grandparents, and they won't tell you I love you, but you knew the way she looked at you when she dressed you to go to school, and she lotioned your face and she combed your hair, and she would stand up and look at you leave. You felt love. You know, you felt love. And your grandparents and your uncles and your aunts, the way they treated you. You felt love. So sometimes it is more than just saying I love you. Is to show you I love you. You know, and this has shaped my life in very profound way, and it has shaped the way I did with my children, and I did with other people. So of course, definitely, um, the way you are raised, and also my mom and my dad, and the experiences I had with them, and as you get older, you see the world starting to change, and then um, as I got older, then the actual saying of "I love you" started to exist. But I know back in the day that was not a thing. But absolutely,
Yeah.
your upbringing is absolutely very very important, in the
Okay.
way you end up being as a human, as a person. Yeah, and the way
Yeah.
you interact with other people. Hmm.
All right. Okay, so you know what? We are running out of time. So what I want to do, I want to give each of you a question so that way everyone doesn't have to answer the question. We can save a little time and then just save the two last questions for everyone. Uh, Mr. Mills, let me start with you. As a man, as a man, what matters more to you in a relationship, respect or affection?
Well, respect is very, very important to me as a man. And I believe if you love somebody or you feel affectionate to the person, you respect them. Um, and respect to me is more important. It is well, it's very important. The affection you will feel it it will help you, but the respect will show what the person think of you, and that's a simple that's a short answer really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Okay, and let me take it over to Dylan. And I'm not picking this with anybody. What's the difference between being strong and being emotionally shut down? The difference between being strong and being emotionally shut down, as in context for a man, of course.
What do you mean by emotionally shut down?
Like emotionally shut down that they just do not.
Shut
Yeah,
down,
shut down.
shut down.
Yeah.
Right. Well, to be strong, you acknowledge where you're weak. You know where you can go wrong, where things can easily go wrong. And as a result, you can try your best during those circumstances. Like, let's say, if you know you're very easily, you will curse somebody if they curse you back. Then being strong will be, if somebody curses you, having the self control to resist that urge to curse them back. But then being emotionally shut down in regards, well, I wouldn't really put it in regards to that per se, but let's say being emotionally shut down, you just, people try and talk to you. Let's say you have a girlfriend, a woman, a wife. They try to talk to you, and you just can't give them the emotion that they need for them to feel that they're connected to you. And if you don't know how to love, you don't know how to even cry per se, then you won't be able to really bring out the strength in not only yourself but also your partner.
Yes. We have a lot of men who are emotionally shut down, that they're not emotionally anything. They're not emotionally mature, emotionally intelligent, emotionally available. And while, of course, we have to hold people accountable, and accountability should be something that we preach, I honestly think, as I said, we're having a rap session here, not as psychologists, but just as people from interaction. I honestly feel like sometimes it is just based on their upbringing. It's based on what they were served, what they're given.
Yes.
And we just sometimes have to accept that. But we need to have men who, while they understand this is what they have because of what they were served, they need to try to fix it.
Right.
You know, it is so important that if, as you said, your girlfriend is telling you something that she's going through, you can, it's like your girlfriend said, boy, why would you just bring another woman in the car? We're going somewhere and she just sitting in my front seat and you've just put me in the back seat. And the man will be like, where's my friend? You're not talking about your mother or your father
Right.
or your, where's my friend? And she reached the seat before you. There are men that would say things like that,
And they don't seem to
and they don't
understand.
seem to understand. If you were emotionally intelligent, that you would not be having this argument now,
You
because you would
understand?
not have had your friend sitting in the front seat and put your girlfriend in the back seat. It's just an example. I know it's trivial, but as trivial as we may see it, we may say it, um, that is something that somebody out there might just be going through, believe it or not. So that kind of lack of any kind of emotional intelligence, maturity, and room for growth is definitely something that is a big deal.
And
um
yes, and it's to all the men and women alike out there, it's very important to learn how to say sorry.
oh,
Very
definitely,
important.
definitely, oh, definitely.
Without putting up arguments, without just saying sorry.
Hmm. Let me see if I can. What kind of father would you like to be? I know you're very far from that for now, hopefully.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
if I would to be a father, I'd like to be one that's emotionally available, like not one that's emotionally shut down. Because I find a lot of times a lot of young men, they grow up with fathers that are emotionally shut down, and that's why they don't know how to love others, because they don't know how to show affection to others, respect others, and that can cause a lot of problems like drug abuse and so on. So I'd like to be a father that's there for their children, who shows them how to love, set an example by like loving your wife and your girlfriend. Okay, that's an example for them to follow as well.
Yes. Okay, and Donnie, I have one for you. Before we go to the two last questions that you all can just pour into, because we literally have 5 minutes. Um, you spoke about how your upbringing actually helped you to pour into your kids now. But what is one thing that, as a father, one way, sorry, as a father, you show emotional vulnerability to your kids?
Well, um, one way, several ways. I don't hide my feelings from my kids. Okay, I'm a man. Um, and if you know situations situations dictate that I have to shed tears, I will. You know, if I'm hurt, if I am hurt, if I am disappointed in something they did, and my emotions pour out. You know, um, I'll give you an experience I had. I was around maybe 10 or maybe 11, 12 years old, and my parent whooped me. Right, they beat me. Of course, we're troublesome. We deserve punishment. And I got bit, and I went in my room and I was crying, and I was rubbing my arm. I could feel the welt on my arm, and I was very hurt. Right, I was hurt not because I got beat, not because of the blows, right, but because I felt like my parents were heartless. That's what I felt at the time. You know, I was like, why would you beat your child because like that? Because it is not nice, right? And I was around 12. And I swore then, Julie, that I would never beat my children. At 12 years old,
Yeah.
I had no idea when I was going to have children or anything. But and I never beat my children,
Wow.
right? And I learned to hold them accountable by talking to them, by showing my emotion to them. So, for example, when they were little, if they did something wrong, the way I looked at them, they would just start crying because they know I was hurt by what they did,
Yeah.
and they let me down. So that's the kind of emotion that I use with my children. Yeah.
Very well. Very well. And that is so deep. I love that. I love that they will understand that you are hurt, you know. So let me just put these two last questions together because we're totally out of time. We have 2 minutes. Do you feel like men are allowed to cry or break down? And in addition to that, how do you think we can create a more safe space for men to talk?
Well, yes, I think it's very important for men to cry. You know, you have to be real with yourself, be honest. Sometimes you need to cry. Obviously, as a man, you're not going to cry. You're not really that emotional. So if you do have to cry, if you do feel the need, then definitely do it for sure. And what was the second question? Let's
About creating a safe space for men to talk.
well,
Okay. How do you think we can create more safe spaces for men to talk?
even shows like this, we're not gonna open the line because we're out of time, but even opening the line and having somebody there, maybe a mental health counselor, psychiatrist there, just for men to speak. And with addition to that, next week Saturday, the Boys to Men will be having a symposium just for men. We will in fact we will be having a mental health counselor there, and he will be offering counseling sessions. So June 21st at 5 o'clock at the UE Open Campus, we'll be having one of those safe places for men to be able to communicate themselves.
Yes. Anyone else? Are men allowed to cry and break down? And what are some spaces we can create for men to have a safe space to speak?
Of course, men are human. Men are human beings. So, of course, it's fine to cry. It's fine to cry. It's fine to let your emotions pour out. You know that actually makes people identify with you. And like the young man said, yeah, this program is a good way, and what they're doing at UE, and I think we need to have more men's groups also,
Yeah.
more men groups, social groups, and women can interact and share ideas and share experiences. I think that will help, a lot, with people, especially who are struggling on how to deal with relationship with their partners and their children. They can gain some experience from their peers and comrades, and that would assist in a long way.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for being here with us today. I really enjoyed the balance of the younger and the older. um, and to the listening audience, thank you so much for being here with us today. I hope something that we might have said will definitely resonate with you. And, if you are going through something, it may have alleviated that weight that you're carrying. As we wrap up today's conversation, let's remember the strength of a man is not how much he hides, but how bravely he shows up for family, for his friends, and for himself. We've heard today that behind the silence, behind the seriousness, behind the jokes, and the long pauses, there are stories, there are hurt, and there is pressure, there is pain. And I would like to remind you there is power also. If you are a man listening right now and you're allowed to feel, you're allowed to cry, you're allowed to break down. If you're a woman raising a son, a loving partner, or if you're caring for a brother, don't just expect strength. Give him that safety area. Give him that place where he can be soft, because vulnerability is not weakness, it is truth. And truth is the one thing that will set all of us free, even in that way. So, from the Creole family, Creole Heartbeat family, and to all those who listen to QFM, we want to say we see you, we thank you, and we hear your heart. To all the men celebrating Father's Day on Sunday, a happy, happy Father's Day to you. And we wish continued blessings upon you, your mental health, and your family. Until next time, stay soft, stay honest, and stay human. I'm Julie Roberts, and this was another edition of Creole Heartbeat.
Yeah, la caixara, Green Flag X, Green Flag X, Green Flag X.